welcome to another Bad Man for Christ show. And there is a little bit of a difference here, and I think you all can see it. I'm your co-host, Rupert Johnson, and there's no Paul Brown, no Mark Brodus. They had some things they had to do, take care of some family things. And as a bad man for Christ, you always do family things. So we are so grateful for them. But we have a fill-in today, our own Elder Peter Boynton. Everybody give a big round of applause for Elder Peter coming on the show with me on today, joining us. Peter, how are you doing, sir? How's everything going?
Everything is going great. I'm excited to be here. I love the new intro, by the way. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm excited about the topic. I can't wait to dive in. I'm ready when you are. Let's go.
So everybody, we had a great show last week. First of all, welcome. Thank you. We know that you don't have to be here. We thank you for joining us on a Monday evening at 7:15 every Monday. So we're asking that you like and subscribe us, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. The great thing about this show is we want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your questions. They are live and direct. Our producers will throw them in as they come in. So please give your comments, give your questions. We appreciate you. So we had a great show last week. We were talking about men in the church and what the women perceive of men or what they're looking for in a marriage. But we went so much further than that. But we want to bring that back because we want to kind of get a thought process on why women think one way and why men think one way or are one way, especially when it comes into the church. So if you're watching the show, we're asking that you will right now write your comments, write your questions that you may have while me and Peter kind of do this opening. Now, the great thing about having Peter here, my buddy Peter here, I call him Dr. Peter. He is a psychologist by trade. So he has done many studies on these things. So we are going to get not only the opinion of two bad men, you're also going to get the educational transcript that is out there on our subject by one bad man, and I'll still give my opinion. All right, so we are good to go. Peter, let's get into it. While we're waiting for folks to come in and ask the questions, let's get into this thought.
All right,
brother man. So in the church, there are brothers who we've talked about a couple of weeks ago are going through so many issues. Some of them are going through mental issues. Some of them are going through depression, or it may be isolation, or it might be stress. So many different things, and they come into church, and they have to deal now with finding a wife or finding a bride, per se. And as we know, there is a greater amount of women in the church than men, but now they're navigating through the deal of how am I going to become the man that women are looking for. Can you kind of speak to, should they, one, become the man that women are looking for, or should they become a man that they need to be and to find a woman that maybe fits them?
I think your last point is the right one. Personally, I don't think that men should ever try to be something that they're not. And I think that that's one of the issues that we have as a church culture, as a global culture. We constantly push narratives of, this is the ideal person. This is the ideal, man, this is what you should strive to be. And then we try to get people to change who they are so that they can become something that God never made them to be. My wife always makes this comment. She said, every man is not a lumberjack. Some guys, they are the, bare chested out in the woods with an axe cutting down the trees. And, some guys, they're writing songs and poetry and doing whatever. Neither one is less a man. They're just being the man they were created to be. And if God made a man like that, then he had to make a woman that can love him. So
let's and ladies, again, if you're watching, want your comments and questions. We want to greet Brother Dexter, who greeted us. Thank God for you, man. Thank God for all the people watching. But we want you to send your comments and questions on this subject. So if there's any single ladies out there, please, I want to know what your 3 things that you're looking for in a man. Again, if for marriage, what 3 things, or if you're married, what 3 things did you look for in a man? And maybe did you find them when you got to the person that you're married? Or was it something they got better, or is it something different? So, Peter, you said that they shouldn't change. They're different men. Some are lumberjacks, some are creators, whatever it may be, the different scope. But do we as individuals look for? Let me say this: do men in church are they just looking to be a type? Because we have, of course, we have types. Are they looking to be a type? I mean, we talk about being a type of Christ. Are they looking to be a type of man, or are they looking to be who they are? What is it? What's the consensus? Are we trying to conform to be that type of man, or are we just being what God has created us to be? What do you think?
I think the vast majority of us are really trying to conform. We are looking at the prototypes that successful men are put in front of us, and we're trying to be that. So in church, I remember when I was younger, everybody was trying to be a preacher because that was the man that you needed to be, and there was a certain model of what that man was, down to the briefcase that he carried. And I'm looking at 13-year-old guys walking around with briefcases and trench coats because that was the model man that they were supposed to be, but that wasn't true to who they were. And I had one friend I'll never forget. He walked around with his book bag, and he was moving around and doing whatever. And I always looked at the fact that he never felt afraid to stand out in the crowd. And that made an impression on me as a young man. But I think the vast majority of us, we just see a mold and we try to fit in that mold. And I think one of the biggest issues that we have is that we also perpetuate that mold as a church. We tell men that that's who you need to be. We need to be like this person or like that person, down to the fact that people are trying to imitate the way people talk. And, that's not who you are. It's not authentic. And I think the only way you can have a good relationship is if you are authentically who you really are.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major. That's what I see too. I see a lot of men will come in and try to be this, or they think they have to be this, especially ones who grew up in the church. They may not have had a lot of world experience, but they have grown up in the church. They think that this is what they're supposed to be. They see their past, or they see something that they want to emulate. They're one of their heroes, and they want to be that person. And that may not be specifically them, but that has caused waves in the church, because now we see people going into positions, especially men, that they're not prepared to. And now they get into relationships with women who they're not who they really are. And now the woman thinks that this is the person they're marrying, but it ends up they're marrying somebody totally different, and it causes friction. And then we wonder why the divorce rate in church is as high as the divorce rate in the world. Well, one thing there is to it, right? There is the fact that, well, you married somebody you didn't know. You thought you were getting this person, and ended up not being that person. So that is something that we have to look at. Let's answer this question from Tracy. Women are told to conform too. So this is what I love about women. Now, I'll tell you what I love about women. We didn't say anything negative about women. We said men are made to do this. And here comes a woman, lover. He's like, women are told to conform too. Well, yeah, but we're not saying they're not. We're saying that when a man does this, this is the issue. This is a problem. So Tracy, I would ask you to give me, what 3 things would you look for in a man that you would want in a man? What 3 things? Let me have those things. What 3 things would you look for in a man? And then we'll get to that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, and then JC asks, you conforming? Well, what do you think about that? Do people have to conform in the world too? Where is it more difficult? Maybe. Right? Where is it more difficult to conform in the world, or do we have to conform to the church? Where do we find that there's a bigger slide? What do you think? I have my opinion.
All right. So bigger slide, I think it's challenging because the world is all about conformity. I mean, honestly, the world is literally about you fit into our bucket. And we have a label for everything. This is the label. Even the no label movement, don't call people whatever, is still really about labeling. It's about allowing people to have a preset series of labels and choosing the label that they want But the fact of the matter is you still have to choose one of our labels. So, I mean, that's just the way that the world is. I think it is more stark in the church because we have fewer labels.
So you think we have fewer labels in the church?
I think we have fewer labels to choose from that are church acceptable.
Well, for me, I think that the hardest line is the church because of the fewer labels, right? So I think that because there's fewer boxes to fit in, people that are so diverse will come and try to fit into those 4 or 5 boxes. Where in the world, you might have 20 boxes. So you can kind of conform to one. So yeah, I think that the church is definitely a place where conformity is looked upon as a positive. And again, there's nothing wrong with conformity, but I think that's not what Christ's intention was when he wanted us to look on each other and to be like him, because there is no singularity in Jesus.
Right.
And I think that when you try to look at Jesus as a singular object, you're way off, because even Paul said, I become all things to all people. Right? Yeah. Because of why? Because I have to be able to be diverse to reach a diverse world. And Jesus was very diverse. That's why he didn't hang out with the wonderful saved people. He hung out with the sinners because he had to be able to reach them. Now, he didn't change his character to reach them, but he changed his mindset as he was speaking to them. And I think that's where diversity comes in. In church, we have so long have held on to this is how to do it. This is how to do it. This is how to do it. And we become stuck. So now as a man in church, when I come and I'm going to be this person in church, I have to be this certain type of person to women in church. Yeah. And here goes, right, Tracy, and I believe a lot of women say this, right? The number one thing is he has to love Christ. Now this is me, and Peter, you can kind of throw off on this one. Mm-hmm. If the number one thing they have to do is to love Christ, I understand what women are saying, but some men don't even know how to love themselves. Yeah, don't know how to love a mother, don't know how to love their children. For them to have to start with loving Christ, it sounds easy. Love Christ. But it's not easy. Because if it was easy loving Christ, everybody would be doing it. It'd be simple. Now, people say they love Christ, but come on, do they really love Christ? On a Sunday morning, if you're too tired, you don't go to church. You say you love Christ. Oh, I love Christ. I'm too tired this morning. I'm not heading to church. Oh, I love Christ. I know it's Monday morning prayer at 6 o'clock, but you know what? I'll get him at 7. We don't love Christ the way love is unconditional. Right. That's I don't know what you think. I'll take your thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so the issue that I have with that, he has to love Christ statement is twofold. Number one, what do you really mean when you say he has to love Christ? Because, we tend to throw out a lot of churchisms and, all of those common things. And we say, well, the most important thing is that he loves Christ. But I know a lot of brothers who love Christ and a lot of women are not looking their way. So obviously that's not their number one concern. Let's be real. I mean, look, it's a bad man show, so let's be bad men. You know what I mean? We hear all of those churches, but all of these brothers that are out here literally loving God hard, where are the women running after them? Because that's your number one. He's got it. He's checking that box. So why is that not the man that you're running after? Because really, we're looking for other things in people. If we're really honest with ourselves, we would really identify that, yes, it is very important to us as Christians that the person that we're with is a Christian and holds true to Christian values. But when we're picking a mate, that is not what you're looking at as your number one. You're looking at what you want from that person.
Yeah,
I appreciate your honesty, Tracy.
I appreciate your Tracy. That's honesty. That's honesty. Because it's funny because Peter, I remember when we're going to get the question. Keep that question up, but I just want to tell the story. When I was younger and I remember in my early 20s and looking, at the time we're talking. My mom and dad were talking about wives. I said, you know what? I said, well, you know what? If I was going to get a wife, what would you want? My mom said, oh, she should be love God, love church, love her family. And my dad looked at me and said, she better be good looking. That was, my dad was a bishop. so, so exactly what you're saying, is to the point that, to be real, there are things that we look for before the love of Christ. We like them to love Christ, but then we have other criteria in which we want to serve. So that's really good. Again, everybody, we want your questions on what should women look for in a man. From the ladies, if you're single or if you're married, what did you look for in a man when you were getting married? And from the men, I want just to know pretty much, do you think that what women ask for of men in the church, is it reasonable? All right, but here's a question from Ken. Brothers, as a brother with decades in church, I can say that there are men and women in church that are just themselves. Some individuals and some conform, and behavior evolves as they get older. So he's saying that there's an evolution when we get together that brings us to a point. And so I would say yes, of course, because we all evolve, we all grow, but it's how we grow, right? The question that I have always is, did I grow because that's what I want to do and that's what I want to become? Or did I grow because I felt that's what people wanted me to become? That would be my question, right? How did I grow and why did I grow? Because I think one growth will cause you to mature and the other growth will cause you stress. And anytime you have stress, that's when things can blow up. But one will cause you to mature. And anytime you mature, that just means you're getting to be a better person. So I don't know your thoughts. Throw your thought in there.
So looking at what Ken said, I mean, yes, it's true. I agree with you. We all grow, we all mature. We're born as babies. We kind of learn things as we go on. But the thing that I like to show people, especially when I'm doing counseling, I usually have plants in my office. I'll show them the plant. I can't control how the plant grows, right? The plant decides which stems, where leaves are. But what I can do is influence its growth. And that's what happens to us as human beings. The environment that we're in, it impacts and it influences how we grow, how we develop. The world that we interact with has an impact on that growth and development. Some of us are in churches or in families that encourage our personal growth, that help us to identify who we are and to become that authentic person. Others of us don't have that same advantage. We don't have people who acknowledge who we really are and allow us to grow that way. And so what we end up doing is trying to conform, because nobody wants to be left out. If the two of us are together and Ken comes by and we keep shunning him, eventually he's going to realize that we don't see him as part of the whole. If he wants to be a part of the group, he's got to figure out what we want and then give us what we want so we'll accept it. And we'll treat him like he's a part. And we can have that same mentality in church. We've established, look, these are our buckets. If you don't jump in one of our buckets, we're not going to interact with you. And so we put that social pressure on people and we push them into those buckets.
Yeah. I love the plant analogy. Yes. That is something that we've seen right over time, even brothers to brothers, not as much as brothers to sisters to brothers, but brothers to brothers, right? That brother come in, doesn't have a suit, doesn't have a tie, comes to church. He feels left out until he's searching for a suit and a tie to wear because he feels that he needs one to fit in with the group. There is even that connotation now. And ladies, if you're listening, tell me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but the ladies are looking for a certain brand of man in the church, and if that brand doesn't fit, now I'm not talking about ladies over 35. I'm talking about 35 and under. They're looking for a certain brand of man in the church. which kind of makes these brothers now have to create a image of themselves that may not be themselves, because they know that the ladies are looking for a certain brand. When I'm on Instagram, when I'm on this, I should make sure that there's certain things about what I'm wearing or how I present myself on the social media platforms, because I know the ladies are looking and they're looking for a certain brand of person. You see what I'm saying? I don't understand.
Absolutely. No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, listen, I have every social media, pretty much that's out there. I barely touch any of it. My personal belief is that most of what we see on social media is a lie anyway. I'm sure Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those guys will, try to find me and slam me with all kinds of hate. But the fact of the matter is, it's a lie, and it perpetuates a lie. We see somebody post their, great pick, and, life is good, and I'm over here struggling. So what do? I have to go lean up against somebody else's car and, make sure that you only see this part of me so that, you get this great image. And, here it is. You think I'm driving $300,000 cars, living in a big house, and I'm struggling, paying my bills, but I'm working every day. I'm a hardworking brother. I'm just, in the early stages of my life. I'm struggling. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, it's weird because, like you said, the image of them sitting inside a car. I now see church brothers want to take pictures with big time preachers and post on Instagram like this preacher is their buddy, or they have a connection to this preacher. They want to post these things and show these pictures because it helps them, or they want to show you a picture of them being in a big church or being and like athletes who will. Like, it's always funny to me when you look at certain YouTube clips of budding athletes, whether they're in high school wanting to go to college or college going to pros, they show you these highlights of them doing certain things. They look really good. Yeah, well, there's 7 or 8 plays of hundreds of plays. Exactly. How many plays did they not look good? How many plays did they not? Of course, they're going to show you a play where they got tackled or they got blocked or they got pinged. They're not going to show you those things where they got beat, where they were playing horrible defense or whatever it may be. You're not going to. It's the same thing. And ladies, it's the same thing. Let me tell you right now, it's the same thing you're going to look when you look at Instagram. You're not going to see the guy at his best, at his worst. You're going to see the guy at his best. Yeah. But you have perpetuated, you have pushed that upon the guy to show you his best, and that's what you gravitate to. Now, when the guy shows you his worst, when he's at his worst, you get up. You're like, what is this? What's going on? And again, ladies, I understand, ladies, same thing. Of course, it happens. But the question is why do we do it? Why don't we just be real? Why don't we just be sensible? This is who we are. These are my goods. These are my bads. These are my quirks. These are what I have to offer, what I don't have to offer. Why don't we just be real to one another and just show the real side of us? I don't know. I don't know. I try to be as real as I possibly can. But then there's other issues with that, because people think you shouldn't be real, because then you get this other stuff come at you. Pastor John Briscoe is with us. Thank God for Pastor John Briscoe. Can you bring in that one question from you, Ken, again? I think this is back to your point. Back to your point of seeing young men idolizing and wanting to be pastors and preachers. I see men disappointed because there are only a few spots to be pastors and preachers. Touch on that. There's tons of spots. You make one. Yeah. But good, Peter.
Well, I mean, I think the spirit of his question really is that's not who they are. They're not really pastors. They're not trying to start a ministry. What they're really looking to do is to have you give up your church so they can move into that position. You know what I mean? I mean, let's be real. They're not looking to actually grow the kingdom or grow a church, or, to go to an area where there aren't, any holiness churches and really try to work that ground. They're looking for, an easy opportunity. Okay, yeah, put me, as a leader of this mega church, and, I've got thousands of people in my pulpit, and I can now say what I really think and feel about, everybody else. I think that's really, the problem that we're seeing. But
yeah, so ladies, you're out there again. We want you to ask your questions on what you're looking for in a man in the church. or just what you're looking for a man. If you're single, if you're married, what did you look for in a man? We want to know because we want to kind of talk to those points. So if you have something, please share with us. And it's important. Don't be afraid to share. It's safe here, but we want you to share because we want to talk to those points. But I think this is the thing with church people. Wait, why would anyone look on social media for a mate partner? That's a guaranteed failure. No, they do it all the time. We'll get to that one too. But the whole entire deal of a person wanting to become a preacher is not new. It's always been. It's always been. The difference is all of a sudden there is money to be made becoming a preacher. So if you do it a certain way, there are ways that you can make money as preachers, because the world is seeking for hope, and when you bring hope, they'll pay for it, whether the preacher believes it or not, whether the preacher was being biblical or not. If they can present something that I can grab hope onto, the people will gravitate to it and will pay for it. So there are many fake preachers out there who are giving people a fake hope, in my estimation. But people want to do it because, like I said, some are called, but some just see the dollar signs behind it. So I agree with you, Peter. There's some more seeking that position that the previous leader was in. They're waiting for their chance and want to jump in that position. But they're now they're saying, you know what? I'll just go do my own thing. I'm just going to take it down the street and do my own thing because my leader is not giving me an opportunity. And there's too many other guys in front of me. I'm going to do my own thing. And they go do their own thing. Now, again, this is also a way for them to feel that this is a way for some people to get women.
Yeah.
I'm anointed. Look at me. I'm a man. Right. The number one reason for so many women is that, they love God. Oh, I love God. Look at me. I'm a preacher. Right. I'm gonna travel travel all over the place. Don't you want to get, and there are ladies, unfortunately, who want to be in that spotlight of a preacher's wife or a individual that has some sort of following. And now UC sits up there, not real. Get involved, you come in, and next thing you know, there's a story about you like there was for so many other leaders' first wives.
Yeah.
Right. You're on the paper, your husband did this, your husband did that. He impregnated the choir leader. And you have to act like you're in shock. But the truth is you shouldn't be in shock because you gravitated to a man who did not have real wholesome qualities.
Right.
You gravitated to what you wanted. Right. So, okay, there's a lot of questions going on. Let's get to these things. So, Tracy Jones says people don't want to be real. That's to a real question, right? She said before this one, she said people don't want to be real. We agree. Ken Walsh came in and said, "Wait, why would anyone look at social media for a?" Oh yeah, I remember this. Okay, he said, "Why would anybody look on social media for a mate partner? That is guaranteed failure." Well, Ken, you probably our age. Right, or my age. Peter's a little bit younger, but those are a little bit younger than Peter. Social media, I think is I don't know. Maybe we have to get them to say, but I think that it's a powerful tool that they use.
Yeah.
Not maybe not to get the wife or get the husband, but to find someone who's suitable. Right, to meet the needs and wants that they have, because it's an easier way than jumping around from church to church, visiting church like they did back in the day. Because if you don't have what you're looking for in your church, right back in the day, if you went to another church, you might have found the person. Another church when you were doing visitings and doing this. Today they don't have to do that. Plus they don't travel, so that's not even an issue because young folk don't travel. They don't want to go to another church. They don't need to go visiting or fellowship with another church. So they don't travel. They don't do that. Am I still on?
Or you're still on. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I thought I went off. So they don't travel, but so they use social media as a way to connect.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So I don't think it's a guaranteed failure, but I do think they use it.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken, sorry. Thomas Briggs was next after yours, Ken. If you could put that up. So would you call that pimping from the pulpit? Peter, you can answer that because I don't want. Do you call that pimping from the pulpit?
I'm a special guest, so you can kick me off after this and blame everything on me. I will absolutely 100% say it is pimping from the pulpit. I know that there are a lot of ministries, and if we're all honest, we've heard and seen them where there are people, great charismatic personalities, they've got very person-centered, positive life messages that they're out there pushing, making people feel good, bringing in, lots of people. And there is always going to be that person who wants to be at the center of that attention. And they will gravitate and grab people and draw them near, and they will wrap them up in a whole bunch of foolishness. And, my wife laughs at me sometimes when I use this expression, but this is true. Every predator knows its prey. A wolf knows the habits of its prey. It knows where to find them. It knows when it's vulnerable. And that's the truth. These predators know their prey. They know how to create an environment that makes them want to come in. And while they're there, they know how to sniff them out. They're not going to talk to the person who's going to yell and scream and go to the paper and, run and yell and tell everybody. But they'll find that individual who has low self-esteem. I'm the big flashy preacher and I'm giving you some attention and making you feel better and giving you some encouragement. And now you feel like you're indebted to me. I've got you on the hook. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the truth. Every predator knows its prey, right? And they know that, okay, that's an antelope. The lion knows that's an antelope, that's a gazelle, that's a boar. Oh, that's an elephant. That's a different tackle I got to take. So let me go after the gazelle, and they might be fast, but they're not strong. The elephant's slow, but they are strong. So let me go after. They know what they're doing. They know when they go to the towns that they go. They know when they go to church that they go to. That's why you see a lot of these predators, these guys behind the pulpit will like the circles they run in. Yeah. Because they get known. The ladies will suddenly talk to them. So they're going to different places, and we can get to the whole entire story, but you answered the question perfectly. Next question. Why do they need, this is from Tracy Jones. Why do they need, if you can put that one up, why do they need a lot of women? Why do they need a lot of women? Need versus want. They don't need a lot of women. They want a lot of women. Yes. Just like there's some women who don't need a lot of men, but they want a lot of men. I think my dad always had this saying, people will be people. Unfortunately, the male dominant gene has not digressed. Right. It's still there, still strong. And we have a tendency to want to conquer. And so a lot of us go through that conquering stage. And when it comes to church brothers, they're no different, especially when the opportunity is there. Peter, we can speak. We were talking about this question a little prior before we got on with our producers, right? The producer said, a bishop asked him a question or spoke to him, I guess it was before he was a bishop, but said to him something on the lines that in the church, there is 1 man to 7 women, but that number is right or wrong, who knows? But 1 man to 7 women, and that they're the gift, they're the gem, and their responsibility is to go interview these 7 women and pick from the 7 women who gets the gift. And we kind of talk to that, but that's some of these men's mentality, right? Which is opposite of the biblical prospect, 1. But number 2, it's speaking that you, the man, is the gift. So now, if I'm the gift, oh well, now that yeah, I must, women, hey, look at me, I'm the gift. Where it's supposed to be, the woman is the gift, because the Bible tells me that God gave Adam Eve.
That's right.
Not he gave Adam, not he gave Adam to Eve, he gave Eve to Adam.
That's
So
right.
God was giving the gift to Adam. But now people want to think that the man's the gift. I mean, speak to that one, because I mean we can definitely talk to that one. Speak to
Okay.
we have a lot of women coming in. So be quick. We got a lot of questions. So speak a little bit and we'll get to the other questions.
All right, I'll throw my answer out really, really quick. But honestly, my personal opinion has always been that is a world mentality that has creeped into the church. The idea that, I am the most important thing. First of all, if somebody has that mindset, they don't have any business being in a relationship, period. Because the fact of the matter is, a relationship is one whole person and another whole person coming together. So if I am at the center, that means that you are on the outside. We cannot have a balanced relationship if that is my mentality. And if I'm looking for someone with that mentality, then whatever relationship I create is going to be distorted. It's going to be damaged. You're going to have problems. And I mean, like you said, we could probably have another half hour, 45-minute conversation just on that alone. But yeah, that person's mindset at that time was warped. I am praying that, years later, now that they're a bishop, that they have gained some clarity and God has given them some wisdom, and, they're able to see things a bit better now. Sometimes when we're younger, when we're a child, we think as a child, we speak as a child, but God gives us some maturity. We said that earlier, right? We grow, we mature. So hopefully their mindset and their perspective have changed.
We pray. All right, let's go. Let's move on. So I think we're on Ken Wall. Is it spread the wisdom at any age just the bad? You're just making a comment. Also, Sister Brown said false prophecy. So I think she's speaking. I'm not sure what she's speaking of. Sister Brown, could you please clarify when you say false prophecy? I want to make sure that we're answering, or at least speaking to what you were saying. Okay. From Tiana McCarthy. As a young woman in church, I'm looking. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. As a young woman in church, I'm looking for someone who was following Christ, with their actions. All right. She was more specific. As a home church. Okay. And they're rooted in they're rooted in and is a leader. Okay. Let's touch on this one because I see a couple holes that may make it difficult, and again, may make it warped. But let's see, Peter, where you are, where I am. Again, I like the fact that she says following Christ with their actions. That's a little bit more clever. Just loving Christ, right? They're actually doing actionable things that are following Christ. But this is the one thing I would ask her to be very careful of, because men are of the cunning nature, and I've seen it in church. They do Christ actions until they are married.
Oh yeah,
and then they walk away. So that we have to be careful of. I would think that more so than just action, but I think that longevity in action. Right. They didn't need to do the actions before they were even looking for a wife. They were doing certain things. I would add that. Has a home church that they are rooted in. You can take that one.
Yeah. So I was really hoping when I read that comment that her rooted in was her response to what you were saying, that she's looking for someone that has some history actually being in that ministry, not just attending church. Because I mean, I was attending church from the time I was a baby, but I had no idea what was going on. So just because I've been around doesn't mean that my heart and my mind were in church. So, looking at that, I'm hoping that she's looking not just at the longevity of their attendance, but she's actually looking at whether or not those actions that she's saying demonstrate that long before they were looking her way, they were looking God's way and trying to follow a godly example. So,
yeah, I agree. Perfect. And the last one, this is the one where I think we both can touch upon. In and is a leader. Okay, well, what type of leader?
Yeah.
And what do you mean a leader? Because everybody can't be a leader in the church, because then the church would not go anywhere, because everybody's trying to get the main seat. But do you mean that they are one, they have leader potential, or they are leading in the areas in which they are asked to lead in? Are they a brother who is not only able to lead, but is more so able to follow? Every good leader should be a good follower.
Amen.
If you can't follow, then I don't know how you can really lead responsibly. So to your, and then Peter, if you want to add in, you can. But to what you're asking, Tiana, I think it's a great three things you're looking for. But I think that you have to put your expectations, and this is what we're going to touch upon. Hey, here's what you're looking for. Here's your expectations. If you're looking for those three things, if it was me, I would say she's looking for a minister,
Yeah.
or above. That's what I would say. So you're looking for a minister or above. You're looking for somebody who's going to be a minister or above. That would be me. And then what if God doesn't have a minister for you? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because sometimes just because you're not leading in the church, you could be leading in a pew or leading outside of, because there's many brothers who are leaders in themselves, not per se preachers, but they lead because they hang out with the youth. They're youth oriented. They're considered a good brother. They're able to do things, build mechanics, construction. Pastors ask them to do a lot of different things in a day. When they're there, they're the ones who are leading the group to do it, or they're calling the bus together. Come on, we got to go do these things in church. But they're not ministers. They're not preachers. But I think from what you were saying, it would look to me like you're looking for a certain type of preacher. But she's clarifying. I didn't mean that I meant a person in Chicago. Okay, there you go. So yeah, so you're looking for a manager. I agree. That's what you should look for. Let's go back to this one. Unless you want to add, Peter. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No. I really want to tackle this one.
Okay, Elder, with all due respect. Okay, here's Thomas Briggs. This is my buddy Thomas Briggs, who tried to get me in trouble last week. Let's see what he's trying to do with me this week. Elders, with all due respect, church is the only place people can be something that they can't be in the real world. Oh, I disagree. But so good, Peter. You go first.
Yeah, I was about to say the world is full of charlatans. There are all kinds of people that are claiming to be stuff that they're not all the times. We have people who have literally gone to hospitals and pretended to be doctors, actually prescribed medications and done work as a physician without actually being a doctor. So I think the problem that we have is the church is a much smaller sphere. And so we can see it more readily. Whereas, the world, we're dealing with billions of people. We still see it because there's fraud everywhere. But we don't necessarily label it as often because we're looking at, many more people. But yeah, definitely. I would definitely say that is absolutely not true. I do agree that people come in the church and attempt to be things that they shouldn't be. And they may try to abuse the Bible in order to give themselves a platform to be or to do that. But the fact of the matter is that is just an issue the world over.
So here goes Ken, who wants to try to jump on this question. I agree with Thomas. In the real world, they have a regular job. In church, they are preacher X or preacher Y. No, what you have to remember, right? Again, in the real world, I can take my resume and give it to somebody for a job I have no skill in and get the job, right? Mm-hmm. So the rules of that job don't apply to me, because guess what? My resume said I don't do that. Or you got to pay for me to learn it. But I get that job because maybe sometimes of my connections, sometimes because I spoke well in my interview, sometimes because of my skin color, I don't or do get a job. So you have to look at that and say to yourself, well, yeah, there's a lot of charlatans out there in the world who get jobs. Now, when it comes to the church, like Peter says, the same way, right? Sometimes we give our resume because I jumped from church A to church B, and this is my resume. And if the pastor didn't do his follow-up like he's supposed to, right? Get a letter from where they're coming from. You got this person who says, "Oh, I can do all these things," and they're not. Or you get those guys who preached a good sermon, right? So wherever they go, now people hype them up. Oh, They preach. They can preach. Now, when they come to your church, you got to hype them up because you're the one who said they could preach. So now you hype them up, and the rest of us are sitting there like, what is this guy talking about?
Exactly.
But you hyped him up and you got him in there. So there's all over the place. So yeah, so I agree with you, Peter, on that one. What else do we have? Well, before that, let's real quickly, we have to talk about our producers and our merchandise. So again, we thank everybody for coming out. Still bring your questions. We want to hear more of your questions. Ladies, please tell us what you're looking for in a man. We appreciate you, Sister Tiana, but we need some more ladies. Tell us what they're looking for in a man, because we want to see and help you realize maybe that's not what you're going to find in the church, or what you're looking for may not be there. But we want to talk about it. Men, we want to know if you felt that you are real. I would love to know which men think that they're real, and hear their comments why they think they're real. But we have some great producers who work along with us. Again, Paul Brown, one of our co-hosts, and Mark Bosch, our other co-host, couldn't be here. So filling in is our good buddy, Elder Peter Boynton, who has you have a doctorate, right, Peter, in all this stuff that we're talking about? Right?
My master's is in forensic psychology. I'm a PhD candidate in Christian counseling and a DMin candidate for evangelism.
Wait, a demon?
Doctor of ministry.
Thank you, brother. Man.
I was dumb enough to pursue 2 doctorates at the same time.
Good job. Good job. I would tell a Peter story. I would tell a Peter story at the end of this conversation that I just it was the funniest thing ever in the world. So So our producers, let's put them up. We want to thank our producers who help us with the show. No other person than Ken Walsh and Albert Minot. We also have Peter, who's actually one of our producers on the other side of this. When he's not here helping us host, he's producing. And we also got Sean Gore. So we thank them so much for helping us out. But we also are asking you to help us out by liking and subscribing our shows, sharing the show with other people. We have tons of shows. You can look back on YouTube or our Facebook page and see what we do and how we do it. And hopefully you enjoy it and pass it on. But we also like you to buy some of our merch. We have merch. We have cups. We have masks. We have hats. We have cups for men and women. We have hoodies. We have T-shirts. We have for both men and women. So we're asking you that you buy them. And how can you buy them? Well, you just reach out to us at thebadmenforchrist@gmail.com. And then you can call that Zelle number, which you got rid of real quick. But you can hit Zelle, and the number is 908-821-6504. So you can help us with buying our merch. We do ship them out, and you will get them relatively quickly. And we do have some new frosted mugs. I was told by our merch guru, Albert Minot, we have some new frosted mugs, the frosted looking mugs, if you want those mugs. So thank you very much. Okay, back to our conversation. We've got a lot of folks watching on. So here's a suggestion: having singles as part of these discussions would be great. See, I love it when people. Okay, so I had this one. Okay, we got the same thing last week. Last week we had a show. Women were saying you should have a woman on the show, and we all iterated the same thing. My sister McCarthy is that this is called the Bad Man for Christ show, right? The Bad Men, right? If we have all sorts of people on the show, it's no longer the Bad Men for Christ show. It's the Bad People for Christ show. We don't mind that. It wouldn't be bad, but that's not what the show is about. It's about a couple guys sharing their opinions based on the comments and questions that we ask you to give us. So singles can have as many questions as they want, as many comments as they want. We want you to throw them at us so we can discuss them. We will have shows which will be directly for talking about singles. We will have shows where we say singles. It's not a single show. Next week, join us. We're going to have a show about ladies. What do men look for in ladies in the church? And next week, we will have a woman on the panel, because guess what? I'm not a lady. I can't speak if that's right or wrong. We're men, so we want to get a woman to answer our question. So we look forward to that next week. We're asking you to come back next week. But this week, we want to hear your thoughts. And the Bad Men for Christ are going to talk to it. All right. So we thank you so much for your thought. But Oprah didn't have me on her show ever when she was talking about men's stuff, because it was an Oprah Winfrey show. All right. So let's look at it that way. All right. So bring in the next question. Why do I keep blacking out? Next question. All right, here goes. Okay, Taffy's Brown. Oh, Bishop is not here, but let's get Taffy's. Okay, so Taffy's looking for someone who's committed to church and one woman. Whoo, ready for marriage. Whoo, patient. Whoo, a good job. Why? Stable. All right. I would have to get what she means by stable. A sense of humor and African American. Oh, she was being specific. African American. Those are more than three. Now, Peter, this is one of your in-laws.
Yes.
Now your in-laws is like your in-law niece, like a law niece, right?
Yeah.
I have you, because maybe she has talked to you about this. Go ahead, talk about this.
I mean, we've not had we've not had extensive conversations about this. I mean, I've had conversations with a lot of the young people about it, but I mean, I get what she's saying. I mean, obviously, you want someone who's going to be monogamous. You don't want somebody who's going to be running around cheating on you. I think that is a universal truth. I think even unfortunately, people who run around on other people don't want their spouse or their significant other running around on them. You know, they can never imagine someone doing to them what they do to others. So, yep. I mean, I think that those are, you know, great foundational truth. Ken, if you can put it back up, because I want to kind of walk through it and pick at it a bit. Thank you. So, you know, ready for marriage. I think that is a very interesting term, because I don't know very many people. And I mean, as you get older, I think that changes, but I don't know very many young men who are necessarily ready for marriage. Now, I say that as an odd duck, because I got married very young. I was ready for marriage before my wife was ready for marriage, but I saw what I wanted and I said, I'm getting what I want. So, I mean, I'm odd in that, you know, that's just my personality. When I see something, I know what I want, and nothing's going to stop me from getting what I want.
Yes, you're lying. You're lying. You need to go get that.
But I mean, I think with respect to ready for marriage, I think that needs to be kind of a sliding scale, because the person that you meet may not be ready for marriage then. But if they get to know you as the spouse that they're looking for, then they will become ready. So, I mean, yes, you want someone who is ultimately interested in marriage, but when you meet them, when you have that first set of conversations, their mindset, especially, you know, a lot of young men, they're not necessarily saying, okay, I need to find a wife right now. And that may be the issue. You know, you may run into the guy. He may, you know, be a faithful guy. He may be working a great job, all that good stuff, but he may not necessarily think that right now he needs to find a wife. So just kind of bear that in mind. Not saying that you should be with somebody who's going to string you along for, you know, the next 5, 6 years. You waste all the good years of your youth and then they go off and marry someone else. But, you know, be realistic with your, you know, time frame and, you know, your expectations there. I always think patience is a very interesting thing when people look for patience in other people. I happen to know Taffany, so you know I understand the patience that she has, and I can understand what she means when she says that. But qualify that for us if you can. A good job, again, that's something that's relative. Are you looking for? She said, "I'm 35 this year. When am I going to start getting ready?" So I think this might be a good point to kind of spin off on, because that's what I think really is the man-woman problem. I hear women say that kind of stuff all the time. You know, I'm this age, when are they going to get ready? Well, believe it or not, a lot of men are not out looking to get married. That's not the preoccupying thought. And I think culturally, women from the time they're young, you know, they are raised to want children, want families. You know, you play house, you get doll babies, you practice feeding them and changing them and, you know, cooking and, you know, all of that stuff. Those are things that are kind of ingrained in your mind. So by the time you're a teenager, you're brainwashed to want to do that right away as quickly as, you know, possible. Whereas men, that's not the way our society, you know, structures us. We are looking to potentially advance and secure ourselves and, you know, to do other things. Not that we are not looking for a mate, but we're not necessarily looking to be married right away.
Yeah. So back to Taffany's, and I think, so there's a point you made about ready for marriage. You can be ready to get married, but I don't think anybody's ready for marriage.
Yes.
It's like saying, I'm ready to be in the NFL, but you're not ready for the NFL until you get there. Because there's things you're going to learn or go through that you did not know you were going to experience. I don't care if your parents were married for 55,000 years and you saw them and you say, oh, I'm ready for I know everything my dad went through. Because you're not marrying your mom.
That's
so
right.
You're marrying a different individual. So I don't think anybody's ever ready for marriage. I think they might be ready. I think she more means ready to be married, meaning that I'm ready to find somebody to live the rest of my life with. Now, when I get there, I'm going to have to work at this thing because it does take work. The second, and I agree 100% on patience. Patience is something that is relevant, because what I consider patient, you may not. Right? I can consider being patient. You waited for 3 hours, you were patient. But somebody may consider, no, you waited for 15 minutes. I was patient. You should have got, after 15 minutes, we should have got whatever, right? So that's relevant. Sense of humor, that's relevant also, because some people think some people are funny and other people don't think other people are funny. So that's great. But all those other things I think you talk to, so that's great. So Taffany, I guess our answer to you would be that these things are possible in a man, but you may want to tweak. If you're thinking one thing, you may want to tweak, as Peter was saying, what you're looking at or how you're looking for it, because maybe that man's not available in the church at this time, but maybe he is. But maybe what you're looking for, and what I have not seen again is he has to be good looking. I have not seen one person say that yet, but I guarantee that nobody wants to marry an ugly dude. But hey, so let me go on. That's what they're saying, right? This is what they're saying. Okay, let's go back to any questions. We only have about 3 minutes. Is there any other questions in there? Should you date before you're ready to marry? Ooh, okay. So we talked about this a little bit last week. Here is the problem, all right, with should you date. Now, back in the day, 25, 30 years ago, we didn't use that word dating, right? When you told your pastor you and this lady are working to further your life together, they didn't say dating. You used the word courting. Oh, you guys are courting. That means that you are looking to get married. It does not mean you're looking to see how you guys relate to each other. You're looking to get married. Now, here's the big problem in today's world is that he needs to be good looking. Yes, thank you. There you go, Tanner. That's what we want to see, because I believe the same thing. So, but there is, I believe in Peter. I'm going to give you last minute on this one because we're about 2 minutes out. Again, great conversation. But I believe that dating today can be dangerous because is a person dating and being responsible, because there are feelings that get involved when you become very close. And if you're in the church and you get those feelings touched, then you break up. You might not be able to exist in the same church when you see the other person with somebody else in the same church. So I think that it is very dangerous, because again, how you got together, have you talked about what you're trying to result in? I think that, but you can take the other minute, or you can take this question if you want to. I'll leave that to you.
I'll try to do 30 and 30. I 100% agree. I think that the general practice of just dating in church is a very bad thing. I told my kids when they were younger, everything that's alive grows and it changes. Relationships do the same thing. Every relationship is looking to grow and to move to its next life stage. And if you don't have a plan for that, then that means that you're going to have a whole lot of feelings and no place for those feelings to go. So you need to really be methodical and intentional when you are looking to court, date, whatever it is that you call. But I don't think we should be in the habit of just dating, especially if you don't have the intention to get married.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, my sister is calling me during our show, so I don't know if she remembers I'm on the show right now, but maybe she has a question. So I actually picked up the phone to see if she has. Yes, Deborah, do you have a question? Do you have a question, Deborah? Okay, I'm going to put you on speaker. Go ahead. What's your thought? Quickly, we're almost there.
I'm so sorry. I did not know you were on the show. I forgot.
Oh, so was it a question for the show? So I'll call you after the show, Deb. All right? All right. God bless. All right, everybody. we are so we can't ask any more questions. These are great questions. Thank you so much. When a woman is ready to be married, and what does that mean? What qualifies us? She bring job, education. Okay, that's going to be a question for next week. So we go there for next week. Next week, we want to give you the preface for next week's show. We want you on here to join us. Invite your friends. We're going to talk to ask the brothers, what 3 things do you look for a woman in the church when you're looking to get married? And ladies, we want to hear from you. Are they being realistic? So come on, join us next week, same time, same channel, 7:15 every Monday, the Bad Men for Christ show. We want to thank again Elder Peter Boynton, my buddy, my friend, and one of our producers, for joining us on today and giving us the educational information that we need so people can understand what's going on. Ladies, we thank you. Women and men, we thank you for joining us as often as you do. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you all next week. Bad Men for Christ. God bless you.